Imagine failing the same exam, not once, not twice, but 3 years in a row. While everyone around you moves forward, gets promoted, gets praised, gets celebrated, you stay behind. Same classroom, same shame, same silence. Now imagine that same boy standing in front of a classroom full of students, not as a failure, but as the teacher everyone remembered for life. This is Ryan's story, and somewhere in it, you might find your own. Ryan was 15 years old when he first realized something was wrong. Not wrong with the world, not wrong with his school, wrong with him, or at least that's what he believed. His classmates would sit down for an exam, and their pens would move like they were dancing, confident, certain, fast. But Ryan's pen, it would just hover, like it was afraid to write the wrong thing, like it knew what was coming. He studied, he really did. He stayed up late, he reread his notes, he tried. But when the results came back, red marks, low scores, and a grade that was screamed one thing louder than anything else. Not good enough. The first year, he told himself it was bad luck. The second year, he told himself he'd try harder. But the third year, he had run out of things to tell himself. He stopped talking in class. He sat in the back corner where teachers were less likely to call on him. He stopped raising his hand even when he thought he knew the answer. Because what was the point? Every time he tried, the result was the same. Failure, shame, silence. His classmates moved on to the next grade, and Ryan stayed behind. You know what nobody tells you about failing? It's not just the grade that hurts, it's the way people look at you. The slight hesitation before someone introduces you. The conversations that go quiet when you walk in. The relatives at family gatherings who ask, "So what are you going to do with your life?" and then look away before you even answer. Ryan's parents didn't shout at him. They didn't need to. Their silence was louder than any argument. His father would come home from a long day of work, eat dinner quietly, and go to sleep without asking Ryan anything. Not about school, not about his feelings, not about his dreams, because somewhere along the way, they had both quietly agreed, without saying a word, that maybe Ryan just didn't have any. His mother prayed for him every night. He could hear her through the thin walls of their small house. That sound, her voice, barely a whisper, asking God for help, was the most painful sound Ryan had ever heard, because it meant even she didn't know how to fix him. He started to believe the story everyone seemed to be writing about him. Ryan is slow. Ryan isn't smart. Ryan just doesn't have it. And the most dangerous thing a young person can do is start believing the story other people write about them. It was a Thursday afternoon. School had ended an hour ago. Everyone had gone home, to their friends, to their families, to their futures. Ryan sat alone on a bench outside the school building. He wasn't waiting for anyone. He just didn't want to go home yet. Home meant questions. Home meant disappointment. Out here, at least, the silence belonged to him. That's when he heard the sound of a broom sweeping across the courtyard. An old man, small, unhurried, moving slowly but deliberately, like every single sweep of that broom meant something. His name was Mr. Hassan, the school janitor, a man most students had never looked at twice. He stopped near Ryan's bench, looked at him for a moment, and said, without any introduction, "You're the boy who failed again, aren't you?" Ryan looked up, prepared to feel embarrassed. But Mr. Hassan wasn't saying it with cruelty. He was saying it the way a doctor names a disease, plainly, calmly, because naming it is the first step to healing it. Ryan nodded slowly. Mr. Hassan sat down beside him on the bench. He looked out at the empty courtyard and said, "You know what I've noticed about rivers?" Ray made a quiet decision that night, not a dramatic one. He didn't stand in front of a mirror and give himself a speech. He didn't write a list of goals. He simply decided to stop chasing grades and to start chasing understanding. Those are two very different things. Chasing grades means you study what will be on the test, you memorize, you repeat, you forget. Chasing understanding means you study what genuinely confuses you. You ask why, not just what. You go deeper, not faster. Ray started going to the library after school, not to cram for exams, but to read. He had textbooks only, everything. History, science, stories, biographies of people who failed and came back. He discovered something shocking. Almost every person he admired had failed first. Thomas Edison, hundreds of failed experiments before the light bulb. Abraham Lincoln lost election after election before becoming president. J.K. Rowling rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter changed the world. Failure wasn't the opposite of success. It was the first chapter of it. Ray started teaching himself not the way his school had taught him, but the way his brain actually learned, slowly, visually, repeatedly, patiently. He started explaining concepts to himself out loud, as if he were teaching someone. He didn't know it then. Progress didn't come overnight. Let's be honest about that, because too many stories skip this part. There were still hard days when the old voice came back. You're fooling yourself. You're never smart. Who do you think you are? There were still family dinners where no one asked about his dreams. Still moments when his old classmates, now a grade ahead, then 2 grades ahead, would pass him in the street, and he'd feel that familiar sting. But something was different now. Before, failure made him stop. Now, failure made him adjust. That's the only real difference between someone who gives up and someone who keeps going. Not talent, not luck, not even intelligence, just the ability to adjust instead of quit. Ryan got a part-time job tutoring younger children in his neighborhood. Families who couldn't afford private schools would send their kids to him on weekends. And something extraordinary. Years passed. Rayan eventually completed his education on his own timeline, in his own way. He didn't graduate at the top of his class. He didn't win any awards, but he earned something no award could measure: a deep, genuine, unshakable understanding of how struggling people think. He became a teacher at the very same school where he had once sat in the back corner, invisible, afraid, and forgotten. On his first day, he stood in front of his classroom. He looked at the rows of faces, some confident, some bored, some hiding. He knew which ones were hiding because he used to be one of them. He didn't start class with a lesson. He started with a question. He said, "Raise your hand if you've ever felt stupid in a classroom." Silence. Then, slowly, hands began to rise. First one, then 3, then almost the whole room. He nodded. "Good," he said. "This class is for you." And he never lost them after that. Parents would stop him in the street to tell him their child had started loving school for the first time. Students who had been written off by other teachers were suddenly passing, suddenly engaged, suddenly alive in their learning, because Rayan didn't just teach a subject, He taught children how to believe in their own minds again. And every year, on the first day of school, he would tell his new class one thing: the fastest rivers are shallow, the slow ones run deep. Don't let anyone rush you out of your own depth. If you're watching this right now and you feel like you're behind, like everyone else is moving and you're standing still, like you failed too many times to try again, I want you to hear this clearly. Ray's story didn't begin when he became a teacher. It began on that bench when he was tired, ashamed, and had nothing left. And one quiet voice told him that the slow doesn't mean wrong. Your timeline is not broken. Your pace is not a punishment. Your struggle is not a life sentence. It is a river, moving at exactly the depth it needs to. The question isn't whether you'll arrive. The question is, will you keep moving? One small step, one honest effort, one decision to understand rather than just perform. That's where every great story begins. Not with a trophy, but with a choice.